So here at All That Film, we wanted to start a series that promotes videos about things that define the decade in film. These can be things like innovations that have transformed filmmaking, things that dominated the pop culture, and films that parallel with what's going on in the world right now, etc., etc. I want everyone possible to submit in all their great videos on what defined the decade in film for them. Just use the hashtag #DefiningTheDecade so we can see it. The best 10 videos will be put in our All That Film Decade in Review tourney. That means if you're doing a topic on more than one film, make sure to indicate at the end of the video what was your singular pick. I.e., if you did the MCU, my pick is Black Panther. Our host will be looking at all the videos submitted to determine the best, and I personally have 10 topics I want to cover, so if no one makes videos, that's more spots in the tournament for me. Our time's coming, kings. With all that said, I've been putting this off for a long time. The first in the series was supposed to release in August, which was going to be pretty extensive. However, life happens, and I was never able to get that finished. My second attempt was going to be centered around a certain creator who has changed the face of horror. I think this one still has a shot at coming out at some point, but I just didn't have the same amount of passion as I do for this topic. Which brings me to a thing I love talking about, and probably what brought you here, Taika Waititi.
If you're ever in that situation, there are always two doors to choose from. And through the first door, it's easy to get through that door, and on the other side, waiting for you, are all the nummiest treats you can imagine. Fanta, Doritos, LMP, burger rings, Coke Zero. But you know what? There's also another door. Not the burger ring door, not the Fanta door. Another door that's harder to get through.
Taika Waititi is a New Zealand filmmaker, comedian, and actor that has skyrocketed onto the movie scene with his unique sense of comedy. Gaining even enough popularity to direct his own Thor sequel, Waititi wasn't always pinned down to just filmmaking. He's been an artist, comedian, actor, animator, whatever you can name, he's tried to do.
I mean, all I've got, guys, is creativity. That's it. That's my job. You know, at the moment I happen to be a filmmaker, but it's not my job. It's just, my job is to express myself and to share my ideas and my point of view. It happens to be that I'm using filmmaking right now, but you know, throughout the years I've done lots of different things.
And this is one of the biggest things I want people to know. It's in Taika's creative mind that he's been able to be one of the most important people of this decade. His brand of comedy is very much his own, and never once has it felt catered to an audience. And it obsesses over stories that don't often get the limelight.
So, you know, I am attracted to the outsider, okay? That's a lot of the theme in my work is exploring this idea of people who don't belong, and, you know, I'm always inspired by the outsider artists.
His films are largely about nothing at all plot-wise, don't focus on typical protagonists, but have such important and deep messages behind them.
They used to make fun of comedy. Well, they used to dismiss it because, you know, it's just a silly film about silly ideas, but I know that my films are about very important things. And, you know, Hunt for the Wilder People is about the foster care system in New Zealand, and Boy is about child neglect and raising children and families. All my films are about families. He makes the mundane so entertaining, the most triumphant stories from failures. He puts such a hopeful spin on all of his projects, which is perfectly exemplified in Hunt for the Wilder People. He blends his comedic charm, but also balances it really well with the heartfelt moments. Even in a project with such a heroic character like Thor, he's able to make him feel pathetic and have genuine humility to that character. All of his films have so many redeeming qualities, but what stands out to me the most for Taika Waititi this decade is 2010's
Kia ora,
Boy.
my name is Boy, and welcome to my interesting world. My favourite person is Michael Jackson. Wanna see some Michael Jackson dance moves?
Taika Waititi's Boy is a project that took so many years for him to make. So much time that he was able to get Eagle vs. Shark made while he was still planning this project. Boy is clearly a very personal project to Taika Waititi. A child of the 80s and a native New Zealander, this gives us a narrative that bears a lot of similarities to his upbringing he had. I think in being so tied to his own life, it is a film that sticks out to me as the most of his personality. All of what I mentioned prior of Waititi's strength is on full display here. What's best about this is I don't even think he was trying to appeal to anyone, as mentioned before. He's literally just making a film that he felt was going to be great, and when people praised it, he still remains humble.
People that talk here have like invented a brain or something, you know, or like that lady had a stroke and she could like suddenly see through walls and became Rain Man. So yeah, I made a movie. Yeah.
He's just very clearly someone who loves to create, and no matter what, he's always looking to have some sort of artistic expression. Another of his strengths lies in the comedy. Comedy for this decade in general hasn't been the best. I think a lot of Hangover's influence lingered into the start of the decade, as there was a bunch of really crude humor comedies, but also it felt like there were a lot of comedies where their jokes were pretty negative. That's what's so different about Boy, specifically in the deadbeat dad storyline.
I just think, like having an antagonist father character who you've never met, it's just too easy to just make him just a bad guy who's not very interesting to watch on screen. So it's a perfect opportunity just to have fun and make it entertaining and to bring the sort of fresh energy.
As Taika mentions, you've seen that storyline so many times, and it could very easily feel stale making jokes at the expense of either Boy or the dad. But rather, he celebrates these oddball characters, which is something that I applaud. He changes these tragic circumstances into comedic beats that is so triumphantly funny.
One bad experience I had was I played a stripper on a TV show once. I remember sitting around in the green room in my G-string thinking, why am I doing this? Just helping someone else to realize their dream. And so what I ended up doing was I started writing my own scripts and stuff in my G-string. And then a few months later I made a short film, and then that went on to go to the Oscars about a year later. But I lost, so obviously that was a complete waste of time.
This is why Taika Waititi tends to mesh well with my sensibilities. He understands that there can be comedy to help you get through the hardest points in your life. It's this beautiful way of thinking that has led to such a different personality in the storytelling, which has been such a wonderful note to embody this decade. I just feel like this decade has largely been surrounded by a lot of negativity, and I think Taika is a wonderful reminder that it's all part of the process in eventually finding success. I really thank Taika for his films standing out for this decade and for helping to add to a positive perspective in my life. His films just have a special way of making me feel heard, and I'll leave you all with inspiring words from the man himself.
Back home in New Zealand, we have this saying, tēnā koe. Okay, that's a Māori saying, tēnā koe, that's how you say hello. And what it literally means is, there you are. Okay, if you're saying it to a group of people, tēnā koutou, there you guys are. Okay, so the fact that we're here, that we're even on Earth in the first place, I think that's success in itself. So, congratulations, everyone.
So anyway, Boy is my pick in our first video essay for what defined the 2010s. We'll be coming out with more of these throughout the 2 months. Everybody has time. As long as you submit this before 2019 is over, we will watch it. I can't wait to see what people are able to come up with. And again, all you have to do is use the hashtag defining the decade, and we'll add it to the list posted on our YouTube channel. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope this exposed a lot of people to Taika Waititi's Boy project. He's one of the best directors of this decade, one I'm always looking forward to with his projects, and I can't wait to see Jojo Rabbit. If you guys have any ideas of what defined the decade for you, but don't want to make a video, feel free to leave a comment below, and maybe one of our hosts would be interested in making that idea come to life. Thank you guys for listening, and subscribe for more things that define the decade. Also, just a reminder, if you want to comment with your 3 favorite films of the decade, we'll add that to be voted on each of our podcast episodes. I think right now we're at 20 for the fan vote, and the top 10, as voted on our fans on Twitter, will be able to make it into the tourney. So definitely add to that. We have a bevy of picks, and it's going to be lots of fun towards the end of the year. Just get those in before December, because that's when we're going to start posting the tweets and getting people responding. If you want to check out the picks that are already locked in the tourney, feel free to do so at allthatfilmpodcast.wordpress.com. The picks are on the screen right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to be more involved on this selection process.